Welcome to the CompTIA A+ 220-1101 or Core 1 exam. This is Objective 3.1, Peripheral Cables. One of the most common methods of connecting peripheral cables to our computers is by USB, or the Universal Serial Bus if you're connecting a mouse, a keyboard, a printer, or almost any other peripheral. You're probably using USB. One of the early versions of USB was USB 1.1, and it had two different speeds. It had a load speed, which was 1.5 megabits per second, and a maximum cable length of around 3 meters. And there was also a full speed of USB 1.1, which supported 12 megabits per second over a maximum cable size of 5 meters. Boy, have we come a long way. Some common connectors from the USB 1.1 and 2.0 versions are the standard A plug, which is very similar to standard A plug you would find on a lot of devices today. The much larger standard B plug, and we also have mobile devices that use mini B, micro B, and USB 3.0 changed the connectors a bit to be able to support higher speeds. In recent years, we started to roll out a new type of connector for USB called the USB-C connector. The USB-C connector is very different from the A connectors that we're used to having, where you have to plug them in on exactly the right way to get them to work. With USB-C, we simply plug in the connector and there is no top or bottom. It will work in either orientation. USB-C describes the connector itself and does not describe the type of signal that you're sending over the connection. And indeed, over USB-C, you can send many different types of connections that are not only related to data, but you could also send video and other signals as well. The USB-C connector is also quite small. You can see the standard plug A on the right side and the traditional micro B plug on the left side. The USB-C plug is slightly larger than the micro B, but not by much. And you can see that is symmetric, so it is able to work with any orientation. The USB-C connectors are also quite small. You can see the standard A plug on the right side and the traditional micro B plugs on the left side. USB-C plug is slightly larger than the micro B, but not by much. You can also see it as symmetric, so it's able to work anyway. As the USB standards change, we're also changing the names of how we refer to these connectors. So each time there's an update to USB, all of those connection types are renamed to meet the new standard. If you're looking at USB 3.0 standard, that is referred to as the super speed connector, and it has a maximum speed of 5 gigabits per second. We released an update to USB 3.0 called USB 3.1. That update changed the name of USB 3.1 to USB 3.1 Generation 1. It's still super speed USB. It's still 5 gigabits per second, but in the new standard it has the new name 3.1 Gen 1. USB 3.1 is technically called USB 3.1 Generation 2 or Super Speed Plus. It supports a maximum throughput that is double and 10 gigabits per second. A new version of USB released in September 27, that is USB 3.2. Generation 1 times 2 is effectively using the number that Gen 1 lanes to provide 10 gigabits per second of throughput. There's also Generation 3.2, Generation 2 times 2. The USB 3.2 Gen 2 is a 10 gigabit per second throughput. So when you double that throughput with the additional lane, you have a maximum of 20 gigabits per second. So here's a summary of all the USB 3.0. We've got 3.0, 3.1, 3.2. You can see that all of the standards and the old names of 3.1 and 3.0 are in this chart, and 3.2 names are listed on the side. And you can also see the logos for those standards. So here's a summary of all the USBs we just talked about and their speeds, as well as their marketing names. So the slowest one is USB 3.2 Gen 1, and the fastest one would be USB 3.2 Gen 2 with 2 lanes. Okay, another common peripheral connection type is the Thunderbolt connection. This is a high-speed serial connection that is able to put data and power on the same cable. Sometimes you'll see these early versions of Thunderbolt using mini DisplayPort as the physical connection type. Thunderbolt version 1 is a 2-channel technology, and you can put 10 gigabits per second over each of those channels for a maximum throughput of 20 gigabits per second. There's also a Thunderbolt version 2, which has an aggregated channel together, giving you a total throughput for anything connected to Thunderbolt version 2 of 20 gigabits per second. There's also a version 3 that's using USB-C for a total of 40 gigabits per second. With version 3, we're taking advantage of the USB-C connector and sending Thunderbolt signals over that USB-C cable. This provides us with a total of, like I said, 40 gigabits per second. Thunderbolt signals can be sent over both copper or fiber connections. That's pretty cool. If you're using copper, you have to use a maximum of 3 meters. And for optical, there's a maximum distance of 60 meters in length. You can also daisy chain different devices together that have this interface and connect them all. Before we had a universal serial bus, we were using a 9-pin and a 25-pin serial connection for our computers to be able to connect to peripherals. These were commonly used to send RS-232 signals, which allow us to send serial communication between our computer and other devices, such as a modem. This is a standard that's been around for a very long time, and it's very common to find DB9 or DB25 connectors on different devices, especially if they're legacy. But even if they're not legacy, I have plenty of experience connecting a DB9 cable to modern hardware, such as a firewall or a switch. Okay, we're at the end of the objective here. Did we pay attention to all these different names and speeds? Which peripheral connection has the fastest speed? A, 3.1 Gen 1, B, 3.2 Gen 1, C, 3.2 Gen 2 with 2 lanes, or D, Thunderbolt version 3. It was a little bit of a trick question. Yes, the Thunderbolt has 40 gigabits per second, which is double what USB 3.2 Gen 2 with 2 lanes can output. Thank you for watching and have a good one.